the messaging and materials you use to share your brand, all the way down to the quality control, in our case, of our programs and how we handle if situations do arise. That's so critically important. You talk about reputation review management. That all filters into the conversation.
Welcome to the Art of Franchise Marketing. Each episode takes a deep dive into the franchise space and explores how the biggest and best brands handle national branding, franchise development, employee recruitment, and localized marketing on a daily basis. This podcast is brought to you by NetSertive, a localized digital marketing partner for franchise networks. NetSertive's Madeleine Park talks shop with franchise executives to discuss what's working, what's not, and answers the question, what else can you be doing to excel at the art of franchise marketing?
Hey everyone, welcome to the Art of Franchise Marketing. Today we have Brett Larimer, the Executive Director of Brand Development at Skyhawks, on. Brett, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
All right. So for people who aren't familiar with Skyhawks, why don't you go ahead and tell us, what you guys do, more about the brand and kind of your current growth goals.
Absolutely. So Skyhawks was founded back in 1979 in Spokane, Washington, originally as a soccer club camp program, and now has expanded massively since then over the last 40 some odd years. We provide youth sports camps, classes, clinics, and programs. So anything from summer camp to after school programs for children as young as about a year and a half for Super Tots programs. And then as they graduate into Skyhawks, that goes all the way to anywhere between 12 and 14 years, depending on the area. We have over 10 different sports to choose from. So classic soccer, baseball, basketball to lacrosse. We also have a line of STEM sports programs. So the kids get to learn about science, technology, engineering, and math behind throwing, free throws in basketball, for example, and figuring out what the percentage of time they can make it is, and just learning about it.
That's incredible. And fun fact, I played semi-professional basketball back in the day, and I also used to co-own a youth AAU basketball organization. So I completely respect what you're doing. And also I'm like, God bless the people that do that. Cause I don't even think that the hardest part is like the kids and, the logistics. I think the hardest parents. So that's a lot of different personalities to appease. And let's get into a little bit about yourself. How did you get into franchising and marketing and eventually to Skyhawks?
Yeah, my journey has been a little weird. I actually grew up going to Skyhawks and Super Tots programs as a kid. So I like to say I'm like an example of, our product years later on, our service. But when I was in college, I was actually a coach for Skyhawks, and our coaching program, my university was, moved back to school, and then back at home during summers. And I was studying public relations. I was working for the university at the time, and I just knew that whatever company I wanted to work for when I graduated, I wanted to be somewhere that I felt so good about waking up and going to work. I felt like I was making a difference. I actually thought initially that would lead me to working in the nonprofit industry, but through my time coaching Skyhawks, I just fell in love with the concept, the idea of this teaching life skills through sports meant the world to me. I attribute a lot of blame as a person back to the sports I played growing up. And so I, towards the end of my college career, just gave him a call and said, any job. I will take it. What do you have available? I want to learn. I want to know. And so I originally came in as an account manager for Skyhawks, billing, invoicing, kind of the administrative work behind running our programs for some locations. I took on bookkeeping. I had done franchise sales at one point in time. And then these, last 3 to 5 years, moving into this marketing role, and then really through the pandemic, owning our marketing department and strategy and what this looks like. And now figuring to build the team. It gave me, I think, a really unique perspective for our marketing, because I've worked in just about every different department of our company that makes it run. And so that gives me this unique advantage when working with our franchise owners, for example, because I know what goes into the operations and different pieces and how marketing can kind of integrate and flow throughout all of the operations.
That's incredible. So you like genuinely are a child of
Yes.
Skyhawks.
Yes.
When I think that that's such a cool way you got into that, where you're like, I think people out of college are like, I don't know what job I want. I don't know. You're just like, give me a job, any job. I'm going to conquer it and I'll grow from there. So, that's definitely hustle mentality, which is clearly why you're successful in franchising because we're always on the go here. So
Yes.
we'll just hop right into it, especially since, you're kind of a unicorn in the space, knowing that you've worked in like all the different components of what's going to make franchise marketing and sales successful. So I guess we'll start off with what are some of the obstacles you face while marketing in your industry and how have you guys worked to kind of overcome them? Because I know it's not just children, it's not just childcare, but it's also sports, but it's not just sports. So, how does that all work together?
It's tough when you're in anything that touches back to children. There's this heightened of responsibility. You have to gain trust of parents and guardians if you're going to keep these children safe for a good time. There's a lot more privacy and safety concerns when kids are so young like this. And so that all needs to come through your marketing and what you're doing. That means everything from the messaging and materials you use to share your brand all the way down to the quality control, in our case, of our programs and how we handle if situations do arise. That's so critically important. You talk about orientation, review management, that all filters into the conversation because parents are checking. They want to know what's the word on the street, what camps are safe, what camps are kids having fun at. And so it's just like a unique extra layer you have to add into your marketing when you're considering it. And I think as a company and as a marketing department, evolved a lot over time. We used to target a lot of our advertisements to like the really super sporty people, super sports intensive. And that's not us. Our programs are beginner to intermediate level. We were founded on the vision that every child should have the opportunity to experience and enjoy sports. And so that's why we have these beginner to intermediate programs. We aren't doing these super early specializations that you see a lot of sports clubs doing nowadays. We're trying to provide that also throughout so kids can keep learning these sports all the way up until they hit their middle school years and they start having these opportunities through school. And so we've shifted our marketing away from the diehard sports parents because most of the time those kids are already in pre-advanced programming, even really early on. And we've shifted to just everyday parents. It's people who need activities for their kids on summer vacation or during conferences after school. Our STEM sports programming, for example, is great because that caters to both the child who's maybe really into science, for example, and not so much into sports. They can go to this camp and have a good time and still get physical activity they need. Vice versa, maybe you have a child who's all about sports and just can't stay in school, comes to this program, they are having so much fun, they don't even understand it. They're learning, whether it's science or math. It's super interactive. Kids have a great time. And so we just really shift what and who we're looking at marketing for. And you sort of see that filter through on the franchise side as well when it comes to finding franchise leads. It's everybody from people who have been teachers to past parents of kids who have come through our programs. We do have a lot of, past athletes. Most of us are still current athletes, even if we're not, playing in our prime maybe anymore. But it is. It's
I hear
about
that.
it's about juggling all these things and realizing like you have to love kids, you have to love sports. That's what this is about. It feels weird to say have to because I think that's something that just comes so naturally to so many people at our company. But the more of that can shine through, the more the parents are able to trust us and make sense.
Yeah, I think that is incredible because so many times you just see, the sports centers of the Skyhawk wannabes, and they just are focused on, we're going to send your kid to D1. You're going to be professional. And the mindset behind that is just so kind of toxic. So to have an area that's not that can cater to the kids that are super dedicated, but also, just have a well-rounded program for all the different kids. Cause my daughter, it can drop kick a soccer ball out of the air and she's 2 years old. And my son is not as athletically inclined. all they want to be together. They want to do camps. So, they're the switch of messaging, I think, is so important. And I think a lot of times people want to, or sports, organizations feel like that's taking some of their pride away if you're switching that messaging. So the fact that you guys were like, no, the super, super into it sports kids are already enrolled, that we're not missing anyone there. Let's maneuver to the niche of just the average parent with the average kids and try to meet their needs was really incredible. So on that, what is the number one marketing outlet that works for your brand? Because I'm in home services and for some reason, direct mail still works really well. Obviously, we've got the digital, but, and then another brand, it's all about the yard signs and the van parking. So what works for Skyhawks?
I'm a millennial, so I went to say that print products and direct mail are dead, but they're not. You're correct. We have, really good results if we do postcard campaigns, for example. For so long, our bread and butter was the flyers sent home after school to parents. And those, I will say, we move from quite a bit, especially as we get more and more digital flyer solutions that are out there. Basically the same thing as email, but this way it's going through the children's school or parks and recreation. And so the chances of parents or guardians are opening this is a lot higher. It's lost anymore. We also have pretty good results with our email campaigns that we run. That's something we are continuously trying to get better and better at, still providing value to our parents and also writing that in different programs we have. It's also neat because we are all over the United States. And so part of it is just the fun of sharing those pictures during the summer. We actually increase our email marketing. Just share pictures of what's going on across the country, not even to push products. It's just to say, look, here's our coaches having fun. Here's our kids having fun. And it's whether you're in California and lucky enough that they can run a beach volleyball program instead of a volleyball camp in a gym, or, in Washington, it's still kind of cold right now, but maybe you're out in Grassfield playing soccer. It's really covering the entire gamut of coming to our programs and sharing those exciting. So emails be a really good tool for us.
Very cool. And I like that because I think that there is such a fine balance because as a parent myself, I get so many effing emails and,
Yes.
and you forgot this, they need more wipes. And then, so sometimes I see the stuff in the backpack and I'm like, oh, here's a report card and here's a flyer. I'll do that. So somewhere I can send my kids sounds good to me. Also, the mix of, I'm like, don't send it to me in paper. I don't know where that's going to end up. Like half the time it's like soggy and so yeah, definitely line for parents who are oversaturated with content all of the time. So quick question, how many Skyhawks are there out there?
Yeah, so we don't run through an actual physical facility.
Yeah.
Yep. So we partner schools, churches, school districts, anybody with an open source and gym space. But with that, we also have corporate and franchise run territories. So domestically in the United States, we have 78 corporate territories and 3 franchise. We also have 3 international master franchises as well in Asia. So we've had a ton of growth. We just started franchising, I believe, in 2011. It's just exploded. We are super lucky to have a company that also done a great job fostering this. Family sounds so cheesy. I should say team because that's more sport language, but it really has created this family-like atmosphere where it's a family-run business. Like I said, we have parents come through. They can put their children in the programs they're running where their kids are old enough that they help coach these programs, and we get to know their families through that. It's just been something that's so special to be part of.
That's great. And I am so happy to hear those numbers and that you started franchising in 2011. Because right now I'm seeing a lot of brands that are like, we franchised in 2020 and we have 200 locations. And I'm like, that sounds not feasible. That sounds not great. But so kind of the slow growth to success is great. And so I'm kind of going to go into a little bit more on the franchisee side. So in terms of marketing spend and marketing support, do you require it? How do you support it? And then also, I'd love to know, now that you have 2 master franchises in Indonesia and China, How do you guys support them? Because for the most part, it's not the same language,
Yes.
let alone demographic. So how does that all work?
Yeah. Well, I'll touch on the international side real quickly. Everyone's tough. It's not the same popular social media channels. It does require a lot of research upfront to make sure that however I'm advising them and sending them in the right direction, and to try and come up with a plan before that franchise has been sold. So we're doing deep dives into whatever country, as people move to the franchise, we're doing really deep dives into the market, into spending patterns, parenting, what are the family demographics, that kind of information, so that we can go in and say, ours are all different. So it's a master franchise. So they purchase the entire country. And so, because again, we're in the US and a little bit of a smaller marketing team, most of the time we recommend that they find something locally to help them execute their marketing strategy. But we do sit on as advisors to help explain what we do in the United States. Like Indonesia, for example, how spending habits might be different, behavioral habits might be different, what that looks like bringing out. And then we usually stay in pretty close contact with whoever their marketing firm is they use locally, just to help them. And, in a franchise game, it's so much about the tools that you have, and not all the tools that exist can operate outside the United States. So that's part of the conversation too, as we look at things, is finding, hey, okay, we can help, you guys can use this one, or I'm sorry, we have this one available. Use this one, something similar that already exists in the country, so we can still be. As for our domestic franchisees, really, and it's so funny when we have this conversation, people usually get kind of like a wow look on their face, but we don't actually have a marketing work on. What we request is that they aspire and spend a minimum of 4% on their gross marketing efforts. I should know. And then what we do from there is help them figure out what to spend that on locally, how they can do that. We do have technology fees, which helps kind of alleviate some of the foreign fees, but it's really about, what are the low cost options that already exist out there? What is realistic marketing? Working with them, especially when they're launching out into a brand new area, trying to help them understand competition isn't always a bad thing. It's a good thing. It means there's demand for our sports programs, for example. And so getting them started, that's what the process is. It's all right. This is what, eventually want to be this 4%. You're launching right now. So before you even purchase, let's talk about what needs you have so that you can allocate a little bit more of that budget up front to launching your business.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that holistically, especially with the international side, how valuable it is to have a franchise system behind you, because there are so many tools and vendors that, whether you're part of a franchise or not, that you'll need to make your business successful. And I know this just from franchising only in Canada, that the vendors, don't crisscross, let alone overseas. So to have someone kind of navigate that for you and advocate for you is super important. So I definitely love that. And a lot of people say, oh, we sell master franchise areas internationally, and then we just kind of let them do their own thing. But, why sell if you're not going to provide the same amount of support that you would provide for your domestic franchises? So that, that's a great, great point. So now I want to get into kind of the importance of localizing. So how do you handle the localization of the marketing for your franchises? Do you think it's important? Can they just rely on the Skyhawks name? Where do you guys stand on that front?
Localizing is extremely important. It's something we have been very intentional about, and I would say almost dived into the next for the last 5 years. And as social media keeps growing, obviously there are things that need to be done, whether it's Google My Business, we're paying their localized social stuff. For us, one of the first things that kind of flagged it was, we had locations who maybe didn't want to have a page, wanted to rely on our national marketing, and then they would get a review in, but it would actually go to someone else's that was already set up, and then you have a different franchise owner that's now getting, hopefully good reviews. Every once in a while, maybe a bad review, and they're trying to deal with that and navigate it, and it just becomes really messy. And so that was kind of where we started that conversation with all our franchisees, was you have to have this local presence. They don't all run the exact same sports, so we can't just blanket say, here are 10 or 11 different sports. You can register for any of them. It's hard to add all those different sports in and find specialized coaches. So usually they pick a few that they're more familiar with or have played as they're getting started. And as they continue growing their business and expanding is when they adding those coaches. And so that's a big piece of it. The other thing, we're doing a lot of work in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space right now. One of our life lessons is inclusion. So just teaching the kids and the same thing. We've also got sportsmanship, teamwork. And so it's just about, how can you make everybody, how can we recognize and celebrate our differences? It's super important for kids. And, things like rolling up those conversations, or even how much you use terms like that in your marketing. It tells where you're at. I wish I could say that everybody in the country is so excited and embracing this. There are some markets where maybe the franchise owners need to be a little bit more settled than others. It really just depends. Or, last week was on a webinar with other members of IFA's Pride Council, and that's part of our conversation. There are some places, for example, in Palm Springs, if your business isn't celebrating Pride Month, people will notice. But other places, if you do, people will notice. And so it's talking to your franchise owners about understanding what works best in their market. Maybe flyers are better in one place and emails are better in another. And then adding their own, whatever their personal brand is and folding it in for national brand. They've got a lot. We really cool when we're doing franchisor conference day. She just did this entire presentation on us with our director of communications. It's about figuring out how to merge. What is your personal brand? What are you passionate about? Is the kids the big piece of this that you're passionate about? Well, go share resources on child development to your page. It's the sports what you're really passionate about. Make sure some backyard drills that kids can do. It breathes life into it, and it helps your company move from being this stale corporate America. That's not what we're trying to do with free. These are small business owners, and sometimes people they don't want to support the big box stores anymore. They want to support, mom and pop shops. And we have to help consumers remember that franchise owners are mom and pop shops. They are small business owners. And so the more personality you can put into those pages, the more that everybody's not just cookie cutter, saying the same thing, doing the same thing. There's value to be said about brand control and making things look nice. And that's still important, but I think within reason, you still have flexibility to let the personality shine through that helps give that special localized.
Yeah, I am completely agree. And I really like that you're just being brutally honest about inclusion, that you guys that's one of your biggest focuses. But the truth is, depending on your area, you got to kind of do that, but also work within your local society. And this is, such a touchy subject to say, but everyone that listens to my podcast knows I'm fully just there with it. So, we're in a pretty suburban Pennsylvania area, and we were using just really, for lack of better terms, very great looking, Black guy as our spokesmodel. And a lot of people were just not comfortable with it. They didn't understand it. And they said, is that the guy that's going to be on my yard? And as much as it hurts me to say that, because, I'm mixed race, we're in an interracial marriage, we had to switch the messaging away from, that to a standard, white guy, as our model. And it just did a lot better. So to your point of, if you're not celebrating Pride, people are going to notice. If you do celebrate Pride, people are going to notice. People in certain areas are touchy. And it is very tough as a business owner to your point, merge your personality and your beliefs in with your business, but also appeal to your customers. So, always kind of towing that line and making sure you have a understanding of the area around you is very important. And then I would say, so now you've got, your brand, you've got your marketing support, you've got your franchisees, and you're pushing them to say, here, put your personal brand as localize it as much as possible. Now, how do you handle the brand compliance part of that? Because I'm sure not everyone is like, here is my Skyhawks brand governance, and I am going to, follow it to a T. I've had franchisees who, listen, their colors are blue and another shade of blue, and I've seen them show up in t-shirts that are yellow. And I'm like, what the heck? guys. So how do you manage that? Because there's a lot that goes into, especially when people are so passionate about children in their area and all of that.
Education. So much education.
One shot.
It's you're spot on, and it's tough. I think every franchise system has are great about brain control and following guidelines, and we all have a couple wild cards, so you never know. But what we found and what we've done, I guess it's twofold. The first one, like I mentioned, is education. We do, I would say, almost more marketing-based educational webinars, sessions, whatever else. We do other pieces of operations. That probably isn't totally, because there's a lot of creative pieces that go into it. But so many people who come to work for us or to come to be as franchise owners, most of their backgrounds are not marketing. It's, as I said, it's teaching, kinesiology, it's coaching. Maybe every once in a while we'll have someone who's great with business, but it's typically not marketing. And so that's one that people find it scary. They think it's a lot of work. Social media, depending on your generation and what you're used to, is extremely daunting. And so the first piece is, how can we teach people in digestible bites? So it's just a little bit of time. It's maybe a half an hour webinar about reputation management, or just how to respond to reviews. We did a longer one a couple years ago about really breaking down how Google and search ranking works, and speaking about localization, why doing all these things locally is so important to increase our organic ranking. That session is probably one of the more valuable ones we did. It got so much more buy-in from everybody, and significantly, we still, I think, probably 60% of our site traffic is organic. So it massively swung the needle for us for our business. But beyond education, another thing is to try and create resources and materials to empower your franchisees to do their marketing, but still give them those guides. We used to do a lot of our stuff through, Illustrator, InDesign, and it just wasn't as accessible. And so, God bless Canva.
I'm with
business. But we've been able to shift. So we're still in the process of converting our flyers, our posters, our banners into business cards, digital files through Canva, so that we can make the template, put them together in a clean lookbook, whether it's Google Drive or whatever you use to store your marketing materials. And then your franchisees can go in, they can make a free Canva account. They don't even need to pay. Caveat there, I will say, make sure you're using only free features to make those templates, because they need helping them anyway if they can access it.
Wow.
So, it gives them the flexibility to update the phone number or the programs in there or the website without, hopefully, in theory, them changing too many other pieces, and depending what level of Canva account you have, actually lock some of those features. That has been huge. The other big thing we do is a social media management platform we use. We have this suggested pre-scheduled content calendar for a lot of our franchise owners, just mostly evergreen content. So child development pieces, best pre-wordscapes, things like that, just to help alleviate, take some of that workload off of their shoulders, and then to help make sure at least some of that brand voice is going through. And the other piece of it is just monitoring. Thankfully, we have a really solid corporate team with our headquarters office. They're all helping. Our director of communications and I sort of monitor accounts. It's never, fun or comfortable to say, hey, doesn't look anything like our brand, but those are
had time.
They're really teachable moments. It's about explaining things like red is one of our graded colors, and everybody always wants to just make red everything. To take the time and sit down and talk about color theory and why maybe go with blue or other grade color, the gray versus, red being front and center. It helps them understand why you're saying what you're saying, and then that makes them more likely to stay brand compliance. And then hopefully moving forward, they do the same. I've even since then heard and seen other busies, whether it's on Slack or person, heard answering each other's questions and something before. That being said, education's a forever, it's a lifelong journey, and social media is changing faster than I think any of us can keep up with. So it's going to continue, but it has just been the biggest game changer for us in keeping people breaking for it and also just increasing participation and understanding it.
No, I love that. A lot of people will say, oh, education, communication, but, to break it down even further, instead of being like, no, we're educating, like, these are the hex colors for our brand, use them. Instead of, no, here's the color theory. Red isn't always what people associate with positivity. So this is why we're asking you to use a blue or a gray and, yada, yada, yada. So breaking it down even further of, we're not just telling you to use this because this is our brand and this is what you bond into, which is true, but also this is going to benefit your location. You're going to make more money if you just follow the script. So I really appreciate that. And we are coming up on time, but there's another topic I want to cover really quickly. And it wasn't on our talking points doc. So sorry for putting you on the spot, but I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, how in the hell do you guys staff these, Skyhawks? And I'm sure you are struggling like everyone else, but there's a different nuance there of people that want to be engaged with kids and pushing all that energy and making sure they're going to go through the process of all the background checks. It's not as simple as a lot of other staffing options are. So, what are you guys doing there and what's your current status? She swigs a huge glass of tequila.
I'm like, all right, I'm going to stretch right into this one. Now, we're in such a weird time right now where it seems like companies can't staff, but them at the same time can't find jobs. And it's changing. The world's changing. How we go about what we're doing is changing. I think we all knew that was going to happen when the pandemic hit. With Skyhawks, we've been really lucky. The pandemic was hard for so many people. And while it certainly was not easy, our team had to really dig in. But now that we're sort of on the other side of the pandemic, people really want to send their kids to work here. Since kids have been cooped up, there's a lot of lasting behavioral problems that have happened from the isolation. The kids develop their sense of belonging in elementary school through school and team sports. They lost both of those for a while. And so now the demand is it's really, really high. And so we're running more camps than ever before, which means we need more coaches than ever before. And when you look at the sports space, there's looking more specifically at summer camp style programs, either you have paid coaches or you have volunteer coaches. And most organizations do the volunteer route. There's pros and cons to each. When it's volunteers, you get a lot of parents that will step up to their kids' programs. Maybe not as many outside people in the community. And then paid coaching, you're trying to still keep your kid programs affordable, still pay your coaches enough, but it is still more of a beginner rate or your stereotypical after school job, kind of rate. And so a lot of people don't want that job because of it, but they would volunteer their time for it. So it's just a little bit different for us. We've really expanded how we're going about finding coaches. So everything from just now, Facebook has a job feature that you can put on there. So obviously a lot of paid search and social advertising for these positions. This year we just tried a group called Career Plug for the first time. They basically push out your job postings to lots of places. Literally first time trying it out, so I don't know the feedback on how it's going. It seems like some people love it, some people are kind of I think it just depends on the area. A lot of, again, teaching our franchise owners, for example, how to post jobs on LinkedIn back to our corporate page that's there. But it's hard. It's really, really hard. And because of the sheer volume of coaches we need, even though we are still plugging along successfully and our efforts to bring these stuff in are working, we still need more just because of the sheer volume of fumes. And so there's been other things we've tried. We have a lot of areas now that our coaches all need first aid and CPR training. So a lot of them free for them. We have other strategies we've been trying, instead of just emailing sports management professors at universities, we've started reaching out to clubs, sororities, fraternities. Another piece of that too is we want a diverse staff. We want the kids coming to our programs to understand the entire gamut of what a coach can look like so that they understand whether it's, a little girl at a football program wanting to see the female can coach football, that kind of stuff. And so by reaching out to clubs, it helps just bring in a wider pool of applicants. We also have a good chunk of our summer coaches that are teachers during the school year, and then they coach for us during the summer. So really tapping into that network, seeing what we can do to bring our teachers in. Same thing with stay-at-home moms. And that's where it's just about really targeted, detailed messaging with your marketing strategy, and then getting super creative and finding job boards that maybe wouldn't normally frequent and seeing if you can, post there and just trial and error, seeing what works.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I love, that's a good takeaway, especially for people who might be in similar industries, is, reaching out to the clubs, the sororities, the fraternities. There are a lot of places that can, be a employee pool, if you kind of just get out of your bubble. So that's really great. And I really appreciate the inclusivity of showing a kid, oh, that could be me. That looks like me growing up, because I didn't have that. And to have, as I got a little bit older and saw that, that was meaningful. So I think that that's super important to start. So I have two final questions for you. These are always the big ones for the podcast. So first off is, how do you define success as a franchisor? And does that differ from how you define success as a franchisee?
I define success as a franchisor based on franchisees' opinions of the company and their outlook of what their business is. So as I mentioned, we could cultivated this family-like atmosphere. That wouldn't happen. Our franchisees wouldn't be a part of that family-like atmosphere if we were not succeeding in what we were doing before. If they were unhappy, that would not be the atmosphere and the environment there. Personally, I think, success just looks like franchisees trusting and liking their franchisor, and the franchisees feeling like they see the successful future for their business, or they're in that successful, time for their business. And then as a franchisee, I think it's a little bit different. I don't think people outside of the franchise world understand how much stressful it takes to be a franchise owner. So it's a combination of things. Do I see that hustling for us? Obviously, do they have cancer programs up and running? But almost the step further is, what are their customers saying? Are their reviews super positive? Do they have coaches that are outstanding and stepping up? Is there a really cool local culture they're creating? Are their coaches happy, talking about what they're doing? It really just comes down to that morale. And I think a lot of people probably focus profit, bottom line. And I am not a human that is wired that way. I'm all about feelings. And so just as a franchisor, are your franchisees happy? And as a franchisee, are your employees, are your customers happy? How is things running for your business?
Love that. And then finally, if you could give a piece of advice to corporate franchisor teams, what would it be? And what's a piece of advice you'd give to a franchisee?
Corporate teams, I know, it's big. I think my biggest advice to corporate teams is just take it one project or one tool at a time. It is hard supporting a bunch of franchise owners. Most of the time, corporate teams are maybe a little bit smaller than we would like to be as well, in relation to the number of franchisees. And so when you get into your day-to-day, there are so many things coming at you and so many different, it could be requests from franchisees, or I'm, always a culprit. I'll be doing something and maybe just spot something, make the note of my parking lot list of projects to get back to later. But just take it one project at a time. For every new tool that you run, every new tool you roll out is giving your franchisees more stepping stones to be successful. And that's what's super, super important. And then the piece of advice I would give to franchisees, do not be afraid to give feedback to your franchisor. Tell you how many times a franchisee made a comment of something they'd like to see that I had never thought of or considered, because we're looking at it from this overarching high point of view instead of being in the nitty-gritty day-to-day. And those are the people we need to speak. There's a tool that's not working. There's a feature they'd like to see that doesn't even exist, or something that, good or bad, both pieces of feedback are important. And, realistically, if your franchisor is doing their job, they should welcome that feedback. Most of the time, maybe they act on it, maybe they don't, but you should still be in a position where you're comfortable to give that feedback because that's how we're all going to.
I love that. And you heard it here first, guys, or heard it here multiple times. Those are very great answers on, the fact that we're getting a little bit different on the same kind of idea from all of our guests is super important. Brett, thank you so much for coming on. If you guys want to check them out, check out a Skyhawks near you or, of course, online, and you can connect with Brett on LinkedIn. Brett, I really appreciate you coming on, and what wonderful pieces of advice. So best of luck in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Art of Franchise Marketing. This show is brought to you by NetCertive. We help franchise brands and multi-location businesses run localized digital marketing at scale. To learn more, visit netcertive.com.